Alright guys, first off, when discussing link geometry, you have to understand what you're dealing with. Whenever my front tires, or my back for that matter, are going forward, it's putting a reverse force on my axle to try to push it back while I'm digging forward. So an easy way to tell how your link geometry is, after you set it up, if you push down on your front axle or on your chassis and your upper link mount tries to push your axle forward, then whenever you dig, making the force go back on the axle, it's going to try to keep your shocks raised. And so if you want your rig to, suck down in the front, then you need to set it up differently. If you want it to keep the suspension up whenever you're digging, which I like that at least a little bit, because consider you're on a side hill and you're digging, instead of raising up that high side, it will try to keep it, from flipping over as easily. Now, as far as how you want it, a lot of people argue, for one way or the other. Right now I have mine mostly parallel as far as my bottom links and my upper links, and sometimes it's hard to tell with bent links. If you take your wheel off and take a picture from the side and take a computer, like with the paint program, and draw a straight line through it, you can tell better. Now you can see my rear link geometry looks a little different. Now to get better clearance in the rear, obviously it's going to be a little bit lower compared to the chassis than my front axle is. If you'll notice, when I push down on the rear, it really doesn't move a whole lot. It might go forward slightly. The way that my link geometry is set up in the rear, if I'm maybe a little bit flexed or not flexed at all, it's going to try to raise based on the geometry. If I flex one side and I'm trying to push it forward, say I'm on an off-camber hill or something, it will actually encourage the suspension to stay flexed. I'm pushing hard on this. If it's a little bit more unsprung or sprung out and I push it, tries to raise it. Let's see here. Alright, as far as your link position on your chassis relative to your axle, if it is higher on your chassis and lower at your axle, it will actually, whenever you push it down, it will actually go forward more, which will encourage like you're on a side hill and you're digging, it will encourage this inside tire not to raise as much. However, because mine's right now somewhat neutral, I do have a little bit, obviously, of that, what I was talking about, but it will help keep that inside tire down, but it will also let it flex while I'm driving through something a lot better than if I have it all the way down on my axle. Now in the rear, if I had it all the way down and they were more parallel than they were, it would actually push the push this axle more forward, I think, if I remember right. But what it'll do is just, instead of pushing it through while it's flexed, it will actually try to raise throughout the whole suspension process, and it will not be as conducive for funky climbs and going at an angle on a side hill. You want to have some anti-squat in the rear, but you don't want it to be ridiculous. As far as the front, when you push it down, if this upper link mount wants to go back when you push it down, it will suck the front down while you're driving. It is easier to hang a tire on a funky high climb or something, but it's also a lot harder to side hill. You almost can't overdrive the front or you'll flip over. I know that's a lot of information and my terminology isn't always awesome. If you have any questions, please ask, and I'm sure somebody or I could definitely help you or point you to some information.